We fight on Friday nights. It's been a long time since I've heard that from JVL, but we heard it at the start of the show referencing the bar fight in the main event of last night's episode of SmackDown for July 24th, 2020. I thought overall this was actually a pretty good show, and I hate to say that to jinx it, because next week it'll be back to being unbearable. And, that's just been the general direction of the show. I hate to be overly negative, but SmackDown, by and large, and I hate to sound like a broken record, since the move to Fox in October, has been an unbearable show. But at least on Friday, it was a good show. I enjoyed it. Nothing really stood out to me as being bad or a waste of time, which is crazy coming off one of, if not the worst episode of SmackDown in, I would say, ever, in the Charlie Caruso voice when they were talking about the greatest wrestling match ever a couple of weeks ago. Definitely the worst SmackDown show of 2020. And I don't know if that was last week. I think that was 2 weeks ago. This was far better. I don't know if this was the best SmackDown of the year, but it was still, I thought, a pretty good show. I am Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. If you want to check out all my other SmackDown reviews, you could do so in the description box down below if you're watching on YouTube, listening, whatever, on YouTube. I did not do one last week. Just didn't have the time, and the show wasn't that good to warrant me doing a review anyway. That seems to be the case with the go-home shows. I don't think I did a go-home show review for SmackDown before WrestleMania. I don't think I did one before Money in the Bank either for some reason. And I didn't do one last week either, so that might be the new norm. But I am back today doing a SmackDown review for July 24th, 2020. Real quickly here, I got to get going soon, but to kick off the show, we had Bayley and Sasha coming out talking about the controversy from Extreme Rules, with Sasha, quote-unquote, beating Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. That's going to be settled on Monday when Banks and Asuka go one-on-one for the Raw Women's Championship. They were interrupted by who other than Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. Largely Nikki. Alexa was just kind of standing there, silent. And I would hoping we would have Braun Strowman encounter Alexa on the show, or actually vice versa. We would have Alexa encounter Braun, go up to him and be like, confront him and say, hey, what was that whole thing about at Extreme Rules? Like, do you still have a thing for me? What's going on there? Braun was not on the show. Bray Wyatt simply hosted an episode of Firefly Fun House. Braun might be still drowning in the swamp at the Wyatt compound as we speak. There's been no update on Braun Strowman. But anyway, so that Firefly Fun House thing aired, and they're obviously building towards Fiend and Strowman for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam. That makes sense. But back to the opening segment. Nikki was saying that she deserves another shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship. I am so fucking done with this feud with Alexa and Nikki and Bayley and Sasha. I'm fucking done. No one gives a shit. Nikki has lost so much lately, and she is so good as well. And she won on this show, but before tonight, or before this show, before Friday, she had not won a match on WWE TV in quite a while. So this was a much-needed win for her. Bayley said, hey, if you want another shot at my championship, you have to beat an opponent of my choosing. And they were teasing Sasha, but it ended up being Alexa Bliss. So they do the match, and it was actually a good match. I thought they worked well together. They weren't holding back. They actually treated it as if it was a competitive match and not the fact that they were, good friends. I thought this was good, and Nikki Cross won via a roll-up, because what else would she win with, I guess? So clearly they're teasing tension between Alexa and Nikki, which I honestly see culminating in a heel turn for Alexa next week. This has been teased for a while now, but I think it's going toward a heel turn for Alexa next week on the show, when Nikki Cross gets her shot at the SmackDown Women's Championship. We'll see, but that seems to be the direction they're going in with this. We then got Matt Riddle versus Tony Nese. This could have been a killer match, but it was instead, meant to be a showcase for Matt Riddle. So for what it was, it worked. Gave Riddle a quick win, coming off the loss to AJ Styles last week. So it was good for what it was. They then had King Corbin come out after Matt Riddle called him out. I don't even really care about the back and forth they had on the mic. It's a fine, logical first feud for Riddle on SmackDown, aside from AJ, that is. But, they gotta ditch the King crap. I don't know how many times I have to say it, but the King crap for Corbin is terrible. It's crap. It's awful. So, I don't mind them feuding, but they really have to do more with Corbin than having him do the same King shit over and over and over. It's just beating a dead horse at this point. By the way, Matt Riddle on this show looked like Jungle Boy's older brother. I don't think he usually curls his hair, but he had curly hair on this show. Maybe that's a normal thing and I just haven't noticed, but he looked like Jungle Boy's older brother that wasn't Giff Garrison on this show. He looked exactly like Giff Garrison, actually. Garrison is bigger than Jungle Boy, and Matt Riddle looked like him. That was one thing I noticed. We then had Miz TV with the Miz and Morrison, who were just complete jokes at this point. With Naomi, they were actually acknowledging the Naomi deserves better hashtag movement from last week. And you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad they didn't just ignore it. I appreciate that much. I can't say that what they did here gives me a lot of hope that they're going to do the right thing with Naomi coming out of this. They're obviously building, or they did build to a match for next week between Lacey and Naomi. And that's fine. As long as Naomi wins and they can move on from this, giving a push to Naomi who deserves it. And yeah, she's been here for a long time, but she's still a lot better than what they've been having her doing since she came back to that big reaction to the Royal Rumble. But anyway, so I thought this was fine. And yeah, I mean, it was a good segment, and I'm fine for them building up another match. But they really got to give Naomi a push. If that's not the end game here, then who the fuck could possibly care? You know what I mean? Lacey, I don't know why she's already back to being a heel after being a babyface for like 6 months. The heel turn was about as abrupt and as random as the face turn, so I guess it's fitting. But the segment was okay. The Miz and Morrison have just never been more directionless. I think that could not be any more apparent than it is right now. We then had a fatal four-way match, which kind of came out of nowhere, between Shorty G, a.k.a. Chad Gable, of course. We had Drew Gulak in there, Gran Metalik, and Lince Dorado, with the winner earning an Intercontinental Championship match against AJ Styles next week. Now, I thought this was an easy win for Gable, just because Gulak's already gotten his shot and lost. And then the fucking Lucha House Party, who were both great, don't get me wrong, Metalik and Dorado are awesome, but WWE has done legit nothing with these guys for a long time now, specifically in the tag team division. Nothing they have done with these guys for the better part of the past 2 years would make you think, oh, they're on the verge of getting pushed again. Yeah, they've won a few matches recently in tag team action, which went nowhere, but other than that, they really haven't done much. So anyway, I thought this would be an easy win for Gable. The match ended up being won by Gran Metalik, which I thought was a really cool, pleasant surprise. It came out right before the show that Edge is on the writing team for Raw, Bryan's on the writing team for SmackDown. To an extent, they have a lot of input in the creative for each show. Edge probably for his own storylines. I'm not sure about the rest of Raw. Bryan, it sounds like he has some influence over what happens in the entire show. And not just what happens with him, because he has praised Big E and Gran Metalik in interviews before, and both of them ended up getting newfound singles pushes on this show. So that's obviously not a coincidence. Speaking of Big E, I'll get to that in a second. But I thought the four-way was great. It was actually very well wrestled, had a great pace, some enjoyable action. But yeah, Metalik went over by pinning, I think, Shorty G after a splash from the top rope that kind of came out of nowhere. Gable will get a shot eventually, I'm sure of it. Styles and Gable had some really good matches about 2-3 years ago, actually, when AJ was involved in the United States Championship scene. So hopefully we get a rematch at some point. I'm sure they could kill it. Hey, you know what? I would be fine with Gable being the one to eventually take that belt from AJ Styles, if not Big E or someone like that, who's been Intercontinental Champion before, mind you. But Gable would be even cooler because they've done nothing with the guy. Big E has at least had his singles pushes before. Gable is not. And that would be his real opportunity to, take a championship, get a singles run, and really be pushed for the threat that he should be on the show. But yeah, Metalik winning, I have no issue with it. Granted, I do not expect Metalik to win the championship next week, but it should be a great match. AJ and Metalik, if given the opportunity, like Styles and Gulak, like Styles and Bryan, like Styles and Riddle recently. Seeing a pattern here. Like those matches, this match could also be really, really good if it's given the time it deserves. So I thought that was great. Speaking of Big E, as I mentioned earlier, they had a backstage segment where Kofi told Big E, I'm going to be out for 6 weeks. I heard nothing about this before I watched the show on Friday, so I'm sure it's a storyline injury for Kofi, because I did not hear coming out of the pay-per-view that he was hurt. He took a pretty sickening bump at the pay-per-view. I don't think that's what caused it in reality. I don't even really think there's an actual injury. I think they're just saying that to give an excuse for Big E getting pushed on his own. Which, you know what? Fine by me. I think that's awesome. I think that's fantastic. So I'm very happy with that. Yeah, no, I just thought this was really, really, really good. The whole segment. The Big E came across great. Kofi came across great as well. I am all for a singles push for Big E. The guy has been needing one for a long time now after Kofi got his shot. It's time for Big E to shine as well. Xavier is going to be out for a little while longer. Kofi's hurt in storyline. It's better than them chasing the SmackDown Tag Team titles again. If this is leading to Big E facing Cesaro and Nakamura in singles matches until Kofi comes back, or him finding a new partner, then who gives a fuck? But if Big E is going to be going off on his own to fight for the WWE Championship, or not the WWE title, the Universal Championship, or the Intercontinental Championship, I am all for it. That sounds awesome. So I thought this was cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Big E going forward. And then the bar fight in the main event between Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. I thought this was really good. This was not the train wreck that I thought it would be. It actually exceeded my expectations. They made great use of the bar surrounding them, whatever the environment, which I guess was a bar in Orlando. I was watching with Alexa. She wondered if it was like some sort of room in the Performance Center or the WWE headquarters. No, it's an actual bar in Florida. I forgot where, but it's in Florida. I think Orlando. Because I thought I saw an Orlando Magic sign up, towards the top of the bar, towards the ceiling. But, this was cool. I thought, the music was, whatever. It was a cinematic match is basically what this was. And it was fun. They didn't get too hokey with it. Hardy had like the face paint on after Sheamus put a hat over Hardy's head, took a drink, came back. Hardy had face paint on and the eye contacts. You know what? I don't really mind it. At least Jeff Hardy won. Hopefully we could put this shit in the past and move on from it. I didn't really notice this in the moment, but I heard some other people mentioning this on Twitter afterward, that when he put on the contacts, that was the signal that he was Brother Nero. I didn't get that gist. I don't think they would do that just because the whole Brother Nero thing is a Matt Hardy creation and Matt Hardy's not there anymore. I saw someone say it could have been Willow. I did not get that gist at all. If they didn't use the umbrella, it definitely wasn't Willow. I thought this was just Jeff Hardy channeling his inner demons or whatever, because he had like a skull face paint type design on. And then Hardy did a swanton off the top of a ladder on top of Sheamus on the floor, which there was clearly a pad there, but it was filmed in a way where you didn't see it. And then Hardy wins. So I thought this was exactly what it needed to be. It was fun. I thought it was better than I thought it would be. And not my favorite cinematic match. And there was a little too much talking in the beginning. But overall, I thought it was good. And I'm just hoping that this is the end of the feud and we can finally move the fuck on from this. Because I am just so beyond done with the Hardy-Sheamus bullshit. And Sheamus can go on to do his own thing. Hardy should move on to either challenge AJ for the Intercontinental Championship or go on a feud for the Universal Championship, chase that title, whatever. I'm just ready for something new for both guys. Because they've had good matches, but the whole narrative about Hardy being a junkie, it's just so fucking played out. We've heard it a million times before. And he might still have issues, which doesn't help either, so I'm ready for them to just move on at this point. But that closed out what I thought was an actual above-average edition of SmackDown. By recent standards, by recent SmackDown standards, I thought this was a pretty decent show. I enjoyed it for what it was. The bar fight was good. I thought the 4-way was great. I thought the Miz TV segment served its purpose. The Firefly Fun House obviously setting up the Fiend and Strowman for SummerSlam. You had the Big E singles push tease, which is cool. The Matt Riddle and Nese match was exactly what it needed to be. And the first half hour of the show with Nikki, Alexa, Bayley, and Sasha was also well done. And they set up a bunch of matches for next week. Lacey and Naomi, Bayley and Nikki Cross for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and AJ Styles versus Gran Metalik for the Intercontinental Championship, which is cool. I don't know if they teased anything with Wyatt and Strowman. I don't think so. But either way, I thought this was, I thought they succeeded in all fronts here. Advertising stuff, recapping Extreme Rules, moving forward, giving us good matches, good promos, character development. It was a rare, enjoyable edition of SmackDown this week. They were on a roll earlier this year and then again in May before falling off a fucking cliff. But I thought the show was good. So check it out and check out all my other SmackDown reviews right here on the channel if you're watching / listening to this on YouTube. In the description box down below for the SmackDown Reviews playlist. Be sure to like the video as well, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. I should be reviewing the newest edition of WWE Break It Down tomorrow on Mick Foley, so keep an eye/ear out for that here on the channel tomorrow. And yeah, that's about it. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.